So this has been, it's always the best student convention, and this one meets the test of being the best student convention ever, and they have been extraordinary. But thank you so much for being part of this. We've had an incredible discussion. The panels have been fabulous, the breakouts, and your questions have really been thought-provoking and interesting and engaging and kept the momentum going. So I'm really just thrilled that we've had such a great group here. I'm looking forward to the next stages of your career. And I do want to emphasize something that I always say, and not enough students take advantage of this, but we are here to help you. Do you have questions about what kind of practice might be interesting? Do we know somebody who does healthcare law or elder law or labor law or commercial paper or anything? Do you want to know? And are they located in Nashville or in Oklahoma City or in Montana? Does ACS have a connection there? Well, yes, in fact, we do. And if you just want to chat about different ideas about what kinds of, practice areas might be interesting, let me tell you a little secret. After you've been out of law school for a little while, there is nothing more fun than having somebody come and ask you for your advice. There is nothing that's better than telling somebody what they should do with their lives. Your parents do it, it's not fun, right? It's like, come on, be quiet. But for me, it's so great. I get to talk all about myself and my life, and then I get to tell you what to do with your life. And that is just super fun. But you realize how many people like to do this. So don't be shy. We want to connect you with people, and if you happen on the one person out of 20 who's not interested, the worst thing they can say is, I'm sorry, I don't have time to talk to you. And you know what? You go on with your lives. So just remember, this is really incredibly valuable. Some people say this is hard to believe, but when I was younger, I was very shy. And that's changed. And I was afraid to ask people for advice or help in sort of making connections and getting jobs. And, all that did was hurt me. And, once you get over that and you realize that people are actually really excited. They want to see you succeed. We want to see you succeed. Anything we can do to be helpful, we want to do. So I want to do a couple things before I hand over the microphone. Obviously, I hate to do that. I love microphones. I stand in front of them all the time. And I promise not to sing, because karaoke is a kind of favorite, but we won't do that now. But so first, I do want to make really recognize a few wonderful people and thank them for being here. First of all of you, thanks for coming. Thanks for being leaders in your law schools. Thanks for being the leaders in the law. Thanks for making our Constitution of we the people a reality in the future, and now as much as we can. Thank you so much for renewing that promise that our Constitution makes to us, that we the people are what it's all about. We need you to keep it on, keeping on, keep doing it, make it a reality. And then, I do have a great job. One of the best things about my job, if not the best thing about my job, is that I have the most amazing colleagues. So can we just thank the ACS staff for putting this together? They are really amazing, amazing people. Also very interested in giving you advice about your lives, telling you what would be good for you, helping you get to where you want to go. This law school has been amazing. What an amazing host we have here. I want to thank UVA and Dean Goluboff, Vice Dean Kendrick, Professor Schrager, and Professor Schwartzman for their support and energy in making this a reality. So thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. And our UVA chapter leaders could not have been more amazing. So let us thank Ava and Will. Would you stand, please? Now, on a sad note, before I turn the microphone over to Ava, is that the ACS community has just lost somebody. And for any of you who are from the Bay Area, you may know him. Jeff Adachi, who is the public defender in San Francisco, who has been on the ACS Board of Advisors of our Bay Area chapter and deeply engaged in our work, unexpectedly passed away. And so we just wanted to remember him, remember his vision for justice, and take just a short moment of silence to recognize his contributions to our nation, to our Constitution, for our values. So what we do in our lives, let's think about Jeff and his model, his inspiration for all of us. I think the best way to honor his memory is to live it out in our own lives. So speaking of living out our values, I'm going to call up Ava here to introduce our final speaker, who has been a soldier for justice and fighting for our Constitution so that Americans remember the core values. He is an icon for all of us. A particular favorite where there is an enormous ACS fan club. Many of us have had the privilege of meeting Khizr Khan before. Many of you may not have, but no doubt most of you have seen him on television, speaking the good word about those deep core values of the Constitution. So with no further ado, I'm going to call up Ava. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Ava Garami, and as has been elucidated, I am the president of the chapter here. So last night, as well as I hopefully a lot of you, went to the dinner with Cyrus Habib, who spoke, and he told a story about his mother going to his elementary school to advocate on his behalf, and it rung really true for me. I moved here at the age of 4 from France, where my parents had moved after leaving Iran in 1979. And I came to this country without being able to speak a word of English. And my first day of kindergarten, I actually was not able to receive water the full day because no one could understand what I was saying. And that was the first time I truly saw advocacy at work, when I saw my mother come to my elementary school, raise all bloody hell, as Persian mothers tend to do, saying, why did my daughter go a day without water? And it really struck me then, the power of advocacy and the power of speaking up with your voice and your privilege for those who might not be able to do so for themselves. And it really struck me in a moment during the interviewing season when people would ask me, why did you want to become a lawyer? And when I finally figured out the reason, it struck me quite unexpectedly. It was an answer to a question I don't think I ever fully asked myself, but always thought that I knew the answer to. And I think it really comes down to the fundamentality of, I wanted to be a lawyer because even as a small child, I recognized the immense power it gives you. The power to do as you wish, to control your destiny and that of others. And throughout this weekend, we've seen a number of amazing speakers, all who I think have run with this theme, who have really shown us the power of power. And, you know, from Caroline Fredrickson, who gave such a lovely intro, thank you, and her amazing book, Democracy Fix, which features this similar framing of why it's so incredibly important to utilize your privilege, your features, whatever it may be, socioeconomic, gender, race, to elevate the voices of others who might not be able to speak for themselves. And to be able to engage in that advocacy in your community is the number one priority, should be the number one priority of any lawyer. So having said that, I want to say a little bit about why I'm so honored to introduce Khizr Khan today. I remember back in 2016, 2015 actually, when we were all slightly more naive and hopeful, at the Democratic National Convention, I saw him speak. And to me, having seen such a plethora of different voices, but none that really connected so truly to my experience in this country, seeing him and what he represented for this country and for that lineage of Middle Eastern voices of Muslim Americans, of voices of parents who have had sons and daughters go to the war and come and not return. And to see that elevating the voice of those people was so important. And it came out in a very interesting way for me this weekend when I was in the leadership breakout sessions. We were speaking about the really fine line between appropriation and affinity. And I think that it can really be traced back to the central element of using your privilege, not checking it at the door, as Cyrus Habib said, but using it to help others. And I think fundamentally, Khizr Khan has done that throughout his career and will continue to do so, I hope, and honor us with that in the future. So with that, I'd like to introduce Khizr Khan, who will come up and I'm sure continue to elevate voices throughout.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have written a speech, 18 pages. I know it's end of the day, a long day for everyone. And you would like to conclude this wonderful convention in a timely manner. So I will spare the written speech. I'll share with you, as I do with my family. I share my stories. But first, I wish to thank our veterans, our men and women in uniform, our men and women of judiciary, our men and women of Department of Justice, Foreign Service, Civil Service. Thank you for serving this nation. Thank you for continuing to serve this nation, and thanks to your family. I am also grateful to University of Virginia, its law school, for allowing this wonderful event to take place. I must add my voice thanking ACS, its wonderful leadership, and its staff for this timely and impactful convention. We are grateful. And we are grateful to each and every one of you. Two reasons. One, very personal to me. This is my fourth time I appear before you. I begin to lose my composure when I think of the first reason in each and every one of you. I see reflection of Captain Humayun Khan, his determination to serve his country, his determination to serve this nation, and his wishes to become a lawyer. You are on that path. congratulations. I see his reflection. And the second reason I am honored and I stand before you, because in my experience, having lived without constitution twice in my life, once when I was middle school student, second time when I was law student in Pakistan under martial law, without any civil liberties, without any rights. I admire your determination to be the, remember this word, if you don't remember anything from my comments, remember this word. Your time has chosen you. You are the custodians of the Constitution. All of your life, I know bills have to be paid. I know salaries have to be earned. Work needs to be done. But you will always remember, you will always remain custodian of the Constitution and its values. I first read my first introduction to United States of America. I migrated to US in 1980. But my first introduction to United States, to the Constitution, to its democracy was when I was second-year law student. I took a course in comparative study of the constitutions of the world. 4 constitutions were included in that study. Constitution of Soviet Union. Remember, there used to be Soviet Union, which is Russia now. Only Russia left. Germany, Magna Carta, of course, founding document of the British legal system, and United States Constitution. There was no textbook. There were printed materials, which I got from the printer. I traveled by the university bus to my dorm room, and at the, this was end of the day, and I placed the materials on the table in my room, and my eyes went to the first page, the top page of those materials. And since then, I have been in awe of the Constitution. It read Declaration of Independence. I said, wait a minute. Who declares independence? We have gone through, most of the colonized world has gone through that process of becoming independent. You protest, you ask, you beg, you demand freedom. What is this nation? Who are these people that have declared their independence? With standing next to that table, I read the Declaration of Independence, all 1,238 words of it. Read all 18 grievances in it. And I got the idea of the spirit of America. I implore you to read it one more time. In these darker days, you will realize, you will appreciate what it took us to get where we are, where we were and where we are. Then I read, of course, the articles. Of course, that is how civilized people live. Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, and so on. And then came the best part. I don't call them amendments. I call them human dignities. I read all of them later on during the course. I did not do too well in that course because I was so taken by US Constitution that I had no interest in reading other constitutions. I barely read the rest, but I realized what was said in the Declaration of Independence, freedoms and dignities, and how the nation answered them in Article in the Constitution and in the amendments. And then I came to United States. I am summarizing some of this long journey coming to United States. I remain green card holder for 5 years, and I applied for the citizenship. I'm about to become a United States citizen. For most of you, most of you are born here, but some of us, it's a journey, it's a privilege. I received the notice and the date to come to the U.S. District Court to be sworn. And I went to the courthouse and I paused. By then I had read several decisions, and I was in awe. And in my mind, those questions even remain. Why 13th Amendment so late? Why 19th Amendment so late? Why it took our nation to realize the dignities and the freedoms of our African American brothers and sisters. The women's suffrage, why so late? 1920. Why so late? Those questions even today remain in my mind. So I paused at the door of the courthouse before I entered, and I looked back. And the reason I narrate these stories because seldom you will hear from an immigrant who had read the entire Constitution and has appreciated the spirit of it and had lived twice without these dignities. I paused and I reflected for a moment before I entered the courtroom what I had lived without Constitution. To you all, the First Amendment is, these are our rights, these are our privileges, and no one can take away from us. To me, it means I have seen with my own eyes members of the media being shot. I was a second-year law student when second martial law was imposed. All the civil liberties were taken away. And media was declared enemy of the people. When I hear those words, it alarms me. That is the first thing authoritarians do. Read the history of the world, you will see that is the first thing authoritarians do. They consider media enemy of the people. That is why I pay special tribute to our free press. You are the voice of democracy. You are the voice of Constitution. Continue to remain standing, regardless of the assault, regardless of you being maligned. So I paused at the door of the court and I thought the indignities that I had suffered twice in my life, and I had only read these dignities on documents in the Constitution. Now those dignities are about to be mine. And I stepped forward, went in, and the ceremony took place. We all raised hands. I'm sure very few of you have done that process. You know what it takes when you take the oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. Some of us take it literally, that we will withstand any hardship that comes in defense of our Constitution. So ceremony takes place, we take the oath, and we are given the certificates of citizenship. To my welled eyes, and even today, I begin to lose my composure when I think of that moment, what it meant when I received that green certificate. it said Certificate of Citizenship and Naturalization. No, when I looked at it, it meant, to my welled eyes, I read Certificate of Human Dignities. Human dignities. I was honored to receive it. I have always honored my citizenship of this great nation. Thereafter, I read the decision, Dred Scott's decision. I read the Plessy decision, separate but equal. I was amazed why this nation has taken so long to realize all this. I have read, and the reason I narrate we cannot measure our progress unless we look back and we see where we have come from, where we were. I have read the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. I have read the Japanese Internment Executive Order in the name of national security. And I filed amicus brief in Trump versus Hawaii. I was saddened to read the decision on 25th of June of 2018. But I was honored that an immigrant who could have only dreamed a few years ago to be in this nation was able to go to the court and express his thoughts and express his concerns to the highest court of the United States. I have recently, a couple of weeks ago, I am sure you are reading it now, Supreme Court rendered a very brief decision in Alabama Department of Correction versus Dominic Hakeem Ray, in which this defendant, Dominic Hakeem Ray, wanted a member of his clergy, member of his faith, a Muslim imam, present at his execution. Supreme Court denied it. And the reason I mention this is that challenge to establishment clause. These events, these cases are shaping your future, are imposing added responsibility to what your career, what your future would be, what challenges you will face. But I am certain that you will remain the custodian of the Constitution of the United States. We are celebrating Black History Month, and I must pay tribute to our leaders of civil rights, their struggle, dignifying the nation, dignifying all of us. I also remember, prior to the civil rights movement, the McCarthy era of 1940s and 1950s. I am very much aware of that era as well. For your interest, I declare my Constitution, our Constitution, one of the most dignifying document in the entire mankind. I have done that exercise. I implore you to do this. Whenever there is some free time, 10 years ago I did this. There used to be lots of conversation at our home whenever foreign guests, whenever American friends would come. I will talk about the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom, the forerunner of First Amendment. And people would be amazed that how America has codified these basic dignities, basic human dignities, and has made it part of its practice, robust practice of protecting these rights and these dignities. So I took upon myself, and it took a couple of years, I compared our Constitution to almost 100 nations of the world. And I, with that authority of personal comparison and experience, I humbly state to you that I did not find anything close to the US Constitution, especially Marbury versus Madison. I implore you to read that one more time under these challenging times. It will hearten your spirits. It will strengthen your determination, and it will make your choosing of this profession crystal clear in your mind that regardless of what you do in this profession, regardless of what venue you choose in this profession, your time has made you custodian of the Constitution, custodian of the democracy. Talking about democracy is under, democracy throughout the world is under attack. In the first 50 years of last century, the world saw 2 world wars. Destruction of League of Nations. Yes, there used to be League of Nations instead of United Nations. And world saw destruction of it. World saw hate. World saw division. And we had Second World War at the end of the first half of the last century. Then came the second half of the last century, where world saw that humanity has realized that we need to unite, we need to come together. We created United Nations, we created other institutions of unity, NATO, and other institutions. And humanity saw the most prosperity in the world under the second half when the democracy prevailed, when the democracy flourished. The authoritarians that steal the resources from their nations, they come to the Western world. They invest in the real estate of Western world to secure their investments. And then they begin to cause this disturbance. I trust our national security leaders that have told us that there had been foreign hand in the disturbance, in the maligning of our election process, our process of democracy, for a purpose. They cannot stand flourishing of the democracy in the world. It is our added burden that we must remain engaged. We must remain aware and vigilant to make sure that our democracy, our democratic institutions, our rule of law prevails. The reason is that there is no other system in the world that bestows the human dignities. I am asked that question, why you are such a, you defend the Constitution, you defend the dignities that are enshrined in this document, and you speak so loudly. Today is my 242nd engagement of speaking. 4 of them were with you all. And this journey has continued ever since. And I'll tell you at the end the story why I have continued. I say this when I am asked that I have done this exercise. I have lived without the Constitution, without the dignities that are enshrined twice in my life. And I have seen in the rest of the world how human beings are indignified. Only, is it the perfect system? No, not at all. There is so much to make better. There is so much. Our criminal justice system requires reform, revolutionary reforms to make it better, to make it equitable. Our economic system requires more equitable distribution. But I have continued to speak because not only I have seen it, I have compared it, and I know there is no other system, no other constitution, no other document in the world that comes close to the dignities that our Constitution bestows upon. Have we improved it? Yes, of course. From Civil War up until now, we have improved it. After McCarthy era came the Civil Rights era, where we all were uplifted and dignified by our civil rights leaders. Same thing is happening during these dark days. And why I pay tribute to each and every one of you, there is one more reason. All other institutions of United States, majority of those institutions, especially Congress, have stood in support of the executive. They have forgotten their checks and balances duty, except lawyers. Except lawyers. It's the lawyers that have stood up and are challenging the aristocratic, the fascist tendencies, the authoritarian tendencies, undemocratic tendencies of current executive. That is why I pay tribute to you. And I call you the custodians of the Constitution, regardless of what area of practice, what area of law you choose to practice. Always remember deep down in your heart, your time has chosen, your profession, your studies have chosen, your Constitution has chosen you to defend it, to be the custodians of the value of the Constitution. I share with you last two brief stories. We were very reluctant to go to the Democratic Convention. We have lived in Charlottesville for the last 15, 16 years because of our children that have gone through the University of Virginia. We received the invitation, and something told me that this may not be my cup of tea. This may not be something that really we want to do. I asked Ghazala, and she said exactly the same thing. She said, do we really want to be in limelight? Do we want to be in such an open forum? Let's talk to our children. We spoke with our children. They told us exactly the same thing, that please decline respectfully. This is not what you want to do. You're private people. You're dignified. You have earned your living and honestly, and you're living peacefully. Just decline. We thought they are being overprotective. So we went to some of our local friends here. They said exactly the same thing. That do not participate. You will not be able to withstand the criticism, the maligning of your character, your reputation. So decline. So that afternoon, when we were to respond to the DNC's invitation, I had asked them to give us a couple of days to think. I went to check the mail. This is all coincidence. We live under the shadow of Monticello. Sometime at night, I looked towards north and I could see the hue of the Monticello from our backyard. What a coincidence. The main street that I live off is called Constitution Route. Japanese television was here interviewing us. When I told them that the name of the street outside is Constitution Route, they interrupted the interview. They said, we want to take the picture of the road first. So anyway, I went to check the mail, and I got the mail, and I saw an envelope without any stamp, just Mr. and Mrs. Khan on it written. And out of curiosity, I opened it, that somebody must have come to the door and must have placed it in the mailbox. Standing next to the mailbox, I opened it, and it had a card with 4 names on it. Look at the power of courage. It said, name, 5th grade, name, 5th grade, name, 6th grade, name, 6th grade. And in the middle was the sentence that sent us to that convention. Up until then, we were being self-preserving, self-protecting, being humble and modest. This is what the sentence said. Mr. and Mrs. Khan, please make sure Sophia is not thrown out of this country. We love her. She's our friend. Standing next to the mailbox, I read that card twice and placed it in the envelope, brought it back. Ghazala was sitting in the living room because we were to decline the invitation with apology. And I gave it to her. I said, read this and tell me what you want me to do. She opens the card and she reads it, opens the envelope and she reads the card. And I'm standing next to her and she's sitting down at the dining table. She looks at me. I thought she is going to say, let's just call them and apologize. We really don't want to be involved in this. The reason was that this is taking place in February of 2015. In December of, this is 2016, but in December of 2015, when that most bigoted statement was made, I will ban all Muslims, all Hispanics will be thrown out of here. Women are of not equal dignity. Judges are bad. They don't render fair decision. Wherever I would go, people knew that I have practiced law. Families, friends, their children, they will bring their small children to me. They would say, would you talk to them and tell them that everything is going to be okay? They are not going to be thrown out. They are worried. They don't want to go to school because they are being bullied in school. We are born here. We as parents are born here. The only thing is that the color of our skin, we look a little different. So I would hearten them, I would bring them close to my heart, and I would tell them, and I would read them Article 1 of the 14th Amendment. I would try to hearten them, and children would listen, would be encouraged. A couple of days later, I would call their parents only to ask how they were doing. And the parents will tell me that they're not doing too well. They're worried. They don't sleep. They don't eat well. This was taking place in our personal life when we were about to decline to go and participate in that public forum. And I would hearten them again. I would talk to them again. So Ghazala looks at that card and she looks at me. And normally she doesn't speak with that kind of firm voice. She's very soft-spoken and kind and thoughtful person. Gravity of our family, center of our family, very loving, kind person. She looks at me and she said, please call them. I thought the next sentence would be that we are not coming. She said, please call them. Tell them we are coming. We will speak on behalf of these children. Please call them now. And I called. The rest is history. Even today, these 240-second appearance of speaking and telling you the story has not taken the power of that 4 small children that wrote us the card. That is the power of courage. They took the courage to write to us. They put their names on the card. And we abided by their invitation, by their instruction. We, after speaking, we came back. I tell you a lighter note. So we told them that we will come. They told us that you have 2 minutes to speak. Say whatever you want to say. You have waited so long today. Your turn is on Thursday, and the candidate is accepting the nomination, and the schedule is very crowded. We can only afford 2 minutes for you to speak. I said, that is fine. We will speak 2 minutes. So I told Ghazala that I'm going to write my thoughts and let you see it in the morning. So I sat down and I began to write my grievances, all of them, how I saw the children, what I experienced, these American citizens, these small children that have done no wrong. And it was altogether 18 pages by morning. In the morning, I came down. Ghazala was having coffee at the breakfast table, and I told her that my speech is ready, and would you set the clock to 2 minutes and let me read it. So I start to read, and believe me, this was the first paragraph. My first paragraph of this speech said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting us. These are my words. I have not plagiarized them from Mrs. Obama's speech. She has the pen in her hand, and she, after reading that paragraph, she crosses that and she says to me, you're not going to say that, are you? I said, yes, I'm going to start my speech with that. She says, no, this will not be, or the dignity of the tribute that they would have paid to our son at that time. This is not according to the etiquettes of the moment. So she edited, and we came down to 260 words. That was the final instruction, that only 260 words. And the rest is all history. I had asked Ghazala to start the speech. When we will go up to the podium, you will say whatever you wish to say, or at minimum say, thank you for inviting us. We are honored that you paid tribute to our son, and now my husband will speak. And she says, no, I cannot open my mouth. I will lose my strength, my composure. Whenever Humayun's picture is on the stage, I cannot remain composed. You don't want me to begin to sob and cry, and that will indignify the entire moment. And you see when she's standing next to the podium, because we were instructed that she must hold the podium tight so she doesn't fall down and distract the entire speech. So she is totally, because of her blood pressure and her condition and all that. But anyway, we came back from that speech, and there are just so many other things that took place after that. But we began to receive thousands of letters and cards, and 99.999% wonderful. Thank you for reminding us about our Constitution. Amazon also wrote us a letter of thanking that they have run out of the pocket-sized constitutions. First time in history they have run out of something, so the second edition is in the process. So anyway, we received amazing encouragement, one letter that I still share with everybody. 26 pages, written by a retired army nurse. She had served in Second World War. And she writes her story, what she saw, what she observed, the division, the hatred, animosity towards immigrants. And then on the 26th page, in the last paragraph, she writes, she says, Mr. Khan, continue to speak. Continue to speak. This time, maybe we will be able to avoid the atrocities that were committed against the mankind in Second World War because not very many people spoke. Continue to speak. The atrocities that were committed against our Jewish brothers and sisters could have been avoided had more people spoken loudly. But no one spoke. In 2017, I had the privilege of receiving Terrorism Legacy Award in Boston. I sat next to two survivors of Holocaust, one to the right, one to the left, humble, meek, kind, thoughtful persons. They both separately whispered in my ear. They said, Khizr, similarities are warning us. Similarities of this division and hate are warning us. Continue to speak. Continue to speak. Continue to share your concerns with the rest of America. These two incidents, these two instructions I carry with me. I continue to speak regardless of the health and perils. We did receive some bad letters and some threats and all of that. The law enforcement has taken care of that and continue to take care of that. But peril to us and our peace and all that doesn't mean much when the Constitution that I took an oath to defend, when it bestows the honor upon me, is threatened. Its values, its rule of law is threatened. I must speak. We all must speak. And to conclude, I share with you, please remember that, as I said, your time has chosen you to be the custodians of the Constitution, custodian of the democracy. You are the candle bearers. Each and every one of you, within your capacity, within your platform, you are the candle bearers. Candle bearers don't stand on the sidelines, don't stand in the back. They walk front and center. Remember, your Constitution is calling upon you to walk front and center in defense of it. In defense of it. I have seen on the other side of the mountain the sun rise. It's only moments away. This darkness shall not last too long. Sun is about to rise. Continue to be the candle bearer. Thank you very much.